whatever.
Amherst Industry Mission.
I got more.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues on it.
Oh, I got at least 3 pens. We're good.
I was listening.
Good afternoon, everyone. We'll get started with our working meeting. For this Thursday, we have call to order by McCaw, roll call, Ms. Adams, and invocation by Father Greg again, and we'll thank him for that. Hopefully it does another prayer that opens our eyes. Pledge of allegiance by Councilwoman Landry. And then item number 1, Mr. Myers, is there anything about the approved agenda? Nothing? Okay. And we have our awards and presentations and our city manager report, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few things here. Statement of qualifications for our job order contract, or JOC, for general construction and building maintenance services. Pre-statement meeting was held, I think today, or it's this week, and then those statements are due April 16th. And why that's important is that contractor hopefully will help us with things like the puppy room and the restrooms and a lot of the smaller items that we have out there. So we're looking forward to that. Invitation for bids for annual street maintenance are due on March 25th, which is tomorrow. So you should have a list of streets in your inbox, but we're looking mostly at the Remington neighborhood for this year's maintenance projects, which badly needs it, of course, as well as other places in town. The PD Evidence parking lot construction was awarded to K&G, and that is pending contract, as is the Henry Jones Park Phase 1 construction, which was awarded to KWR Construction, and that contract will be let soon. Fire Station 2 parking lot expansion construction was also awarded to K&G. Kickoff meeting today, and that construction should begin early in April and be completed by mid-June. The BST shared use path, which K&G is working on, is expected completion in May. And if you drive by there, you see they're going along pretty good on that. So looking forward to that. And then at long last, the Garden Avenue Streetscape project is complete. So that is a good thing. So, and that's all I have for today. I'm sure I'll probably have some more for Thursday, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Anyone have questions, comments? All right. And proceed to our consent agenda. Any questions, comments on the consent agenda? None? And then we go to item number 3, consideration of fiscal year 2026 CDBG funding request and annual action report. Staff report, Mr. Jeff. Good afternoon, sir.
Or Blake.
Or Blake.
Did I do it?
Blake, I'm sorry.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Matt McLaughlin is currently in Taiwan, but he will be back here on Thursday to give this presentation along with the other CDBG applicants for this. So I'll just do a brief overview for now of what this item is. Okay. So this is for the city program year 2026 community development block grant funding and will outline the next steps leading up to Thursday's public hearing. As a reminder, the City of Sierra Vista participates in the Federal Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Program, which provides annual funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to support community development activities benefiting low and moderate income residents. For planning purposes, staff estimates the city will receive approximately $250,000 in CDBG funding for the program year 2026, although HUD will confirm the final allocation later this spring. Federal regulations require that all CDBG-funded activities meet one of the program's national objectives, including benefiting low and moderate income persons, preventing or eliminating slum and blight, or addressing an urgent community development need. HUD also places limits on how the funding can be used. Public service activities are capped at 15% of the total grant, which equates to approximately $37,500 available for public service programs this year. Following the notice of funding availability and a pre-application meeting earlier this year, staff received 8 applications by the March 6th deadline. These include 4 public facility or infrastructure requests, including 2 city projects, and 4 public service requests by outside agencies. In total, applicants requested approximately $490,000, which exceeds the estimated allocation and will require prioritization by council. The Neighborhood Commission reviewed the applications on March 9th and discussed funding priorities. Their recommendations are summarized in the staff report and attachments included in your agenda materials. The applicants will present their proposals at Thursday's public hearing and will be available to answer any questions that council may have. Following the hearing, the council will be asked to provide tentative direction on funding priorities and allocation levels. Staff will use the guidance to prepare the draft program year 2026 annual action plan for council's review and consideration. Again, Matt will be returning from vacation, will be present for the public hearing on Thursday, but staff is happy to pass along any questions in the interim. Mayor, that concludes the overview.
Excellent. Any questions, comments from the desk? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Blake, what was the process that the Neighborhoods Commission used when they were prioritizing? Because some of them, they recommended 0, and then there was various distributions of the requested amounts on each of those.
Okay. Certainly, I can pass that question along to Matt, and he'll be able to
you-
answer that
you're
one.
not familiar with the
I was not
process?
present at that meeting, so my apologies.
I was present at the meeting, and I know Mayor McCaw was on the call with his mom, so you heard all of it
Yeah.
too. They got the packet just like we did with each applicant and what the project, with the whole scope of it, how much they were asking for. And then, just like they'll come and present to us, or they have an option to, they had an option to in that meeting and present individual projects. And I think we had, well, some of them called in, so Catholic Community Charities, they called in, Warrior Healing Center was there, Boys and Girls Club was there, and no, it was United Way
United
was
Way.
there. So they were all there to present their individual projects and make their cases for why they should get funding.
Was it just one meeting, or did it take over several meetings? Because there's a lot of material there.
Yeah, and this was, the recommendations were made in one meeting, and then we're welcome to, we get the final say, obviously, but it does help seeing their thought process and their questions, and I think it was a good opportunity for the applicants to see what questions might come up when they come before us.
Are we going to have an opportunity for the neighborhood commissioners to come in, maybe explain their justification or rationale, or how they ranked and stacked them?
No, but the meeting is online if you want to listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was videotaped or just for audio?
the audio.
Audio.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they will be coming Thursday to do a presentation.
Yeah,
The,
the applicants.
the applicants, but not the commissioners?
No, not the
necessarily.
commissioners, just the
No,
applicants.
they make the recommendation, and then if you want to see the breakdown, there's like a little note. I don't know if
Yeah, I saw
Jeff
those.
put them in there. Yeah.
They're all listed on that one sheet.
Yes, sir. All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you for, it's a good question. I want people to understand how that works and how the commission figured it out, because it's never good to see, I hate to see someone get 0, and there's only so much, that comes under the percentage where you can only use 37,000 for that portion, right? So, but it brings me to like last year when we had the train museum come, and they're like, they applied, but they got 0 as well.
Yeah.
And we're gonna try to see if another grant was out there for them. Is there any update on what happened with that? Like, what happened with them, or, if they got any help? Because they didn't reapply this year, so just don't know if maybe they found something. I know it's not on the list, but it's kind of related to the CBD, the funds that were requested last year. They were one of the people that got 0. So I don't know if there was any update for them, if they did get help, because it's important to me. That's Fort Avenue, and that's a horrible, ugly road that leads into Kiatan, which is another horrible, ugly road. So anything we can do to help them, obviously, I'm all for it. But just wondering if there's an update at all. What happened to the Western Model Railroad Association when they requested last year? If you could find out, if you don't know, that's fine.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman
Thanks.
Rodriguez. I'll follow up with Matt. We'll get a response back to you.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Oh, and I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Where it says under the project for Henry Jones Legacy Park, I know that the commission recommended $64,000, and then it says funding for phase 2 improvements such as landscaping or items not covered in phase 1 construction budget. So we do have somewhere in the park of $88,000 left over from phase 1. So that's just, I think that should be included with our considerations.
If I can have one more thing.
Sir.
I don't know if it was just my packet, but it seemed like some of the applications were, I don't know if it just got messed up in how they were printed, but The city applications, their number 4 and number 5 are just like the other one. They had like the project implemented by Dr. Aaron Carr Jordan. I know that was the IDIA one, but it seemed like if there was like a copy and paste job or something, I feel like maybe they forgot to delete it. So you could check that, because on my copy, it looked like they were all the same. So I don't know if, maybe I printed it wrong because I printed myself, but could be that I printed it wrong, but I looked through it online, it looked like it was the same for like 3 applications, they all had the same number 4 and 5.
Okay.
I don't know, you could check that.
Couldn't see that small.
Thank you, Councilman. I will follow up with Matt on that one.
Thanks.
Thanks, Blake. Thank you, sir. We go to item number 4, Resolution 2026-015, staff report, Mr. Pregler. Sir.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. So many businesses in the community are using vinyl banners or other non-durable materials as permanent signage. Banners displayed for temporary events are allowed and permitted as temporary signs. However, the use of banners for permanent signage was never the intent of the sign code. In fact, the use of temporary materials for permanent advertising signs can result in reduced durability, visual degradation, and ongoing maintenance issues. So for these reasons, staff has proposed the following amendments. Now, to start off, the definition of permanent sign has been revised to now clearly state that they are to be constructed of durable materials and are intended to exist for the duration of time that the occupant is located on the premises. Next, the sign code will specify the allowed durable materials to be used for permanent signs, which includes things such as masonry, metal, stone, stucco, tempered glass, and comparable materials. The sign code will also identify those materials which are prohibited for permanent signs, such as vinyl, mesh, fabric, and other types of temporary materials. Now, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item on November 18th and recommended that existing signs constructed of temporary materials be provided a reasonable compliance period. As a result, the text amendment allows existing business owners 1 year from the effective date of the ordinance adoption to bring the existing permanent signage in compliance with the updated material standards. So on February 12th, the City Council heard the amendments. And at that meeting, City Council directed staff to include language that would allow new businesses to display banners up to 1 year before permanent signs need to comply with the material standards. This language has been included in the amendments. Now both existing and new businesses will have an equal amount of display time. So the amendments will facilitate both commercial activity and the city's interest in improving long-term community appearance and regulatory consistency. This does conclude staff's report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
And Jeff, this just restart the public comment period, right? And then we're going to see this again after it goes through 30 days?
That is correct. Yes.
Yes, sir.
And tell me again how we enforce this. Do we actively enforce it, or do we only enforce it if there are complaints?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Myers. Well, currently, it is based on complaint. It's complaint-based. However, if we put a timeline of 1 year on these signs, it will be enforced at that point. It will not be based on just complaints itself.
That's a good question.
Seems a little heavy-handed.
Good question. Yes, sir.
I appreciate the changes that we recommended last time, so to help out the small business owners, I think it's super important, anything we can do to do that. And I think this does exactly that, just one little thing that we can do. They're already dealing with enough, as I mentioned before, when it comes to county inspectors, our inspectors, enough of that already, so anything we can do to help them, because you talk to any business owner out there, ask them how much their sign was, they're ridiculously priced, so if we can just give them some help on that, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Sir.
Thank you.
Go to our next item, new business, item number 5, resolution 2026-016, IGA, Twin Cities, Sierra Vista, and Cochise County Regional SWAT Team. Staff report. Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. With this resolution, I am requesting approval of an IGA between Cochise County Sheriff's Office, Cochise County Government, and City of Sierra Vista for a regional SWAT team. What I'd like to do in this presentation is kind of timeline out how we got here today. It's actually been a project that's been in the works for quite a while. If you've had a chance to look at the resolution memo, kind of wrote out basically a story, if you will, on why we needed to look at this, what this benefits our community, safety, service-wise, the benefits, and what we did to get here today. Because taking on an endeavor like this is it's like going stepping stone to stepping stone before you get to the point where you think you've touched everything and you're ready, and we're ready. But a little bit about the history. For those of you who don't know, SWAT stands for Special Weapons and Tactics. It's an old term from the 1960s, actually coined by agencies like LAPD, who recognize that daily patrol function cannot handle everything in the community. Sometimes there's a need for specialized resources, specially trained officers with equipment that can handle the high-risk situations that are outside the routine. Some of those include things like hostage situations, barricaded subjects. And I will tell you, the discipline of SWAT has really evolved over the years, and I came through the SWAT team on my own career, 13 years on the team myself. Started as a sniper, moved up through being on the entry team, shield operator, and then finishing out as a tactical unit commander. So I've seen the discipline evolve as well over the years to the point where continually training and staying up to date on the latest standards is really important. So a SWAT team typically requires higher standards for entry on the team. That's physical fitness, marksmanship, and then the ability to work as a team, communicate, and think critically. So a lot of times when we are recruiting for SWAT team members, we will only get just a small sampling of our own agency that's qualified. And in addition to that, we also have a lot more training standards as well. One of the things that both the Cochise County Sheriff's Office and Sierra Vista Police Department adhere to are the National Tactical Officers Association standards. So we are both members of the NTOA, and they kind of dictate training standards, minimum training standards, entry standards. And when I talk about SWAT, please know I'm also talking about hostage negotiators or crisis negotiators, and also our SWAT medics who are also included in this as well. A little bit of history. So SVPD, we started our own tactical unit, which is our SWAT team, in 2002. And we have worked together with CCSO since then on an as-needed basis. The nice thing about being sworn state peace officers is we can do this without an IGA because our certification is valid throughout the state. So when we can help each other out, and I'll give you an example. I remember it was the 4th of July back in 2015, 2016, one of those 2 years. I was the SWAT commander. There was a barricaded subject who'd been firing off rounds out in the county. County Sheriff's Office didn't have enough operators to put together the team. It was a holiday. I went out. I was requested by the sheriff to go out, and I took incident command. And we brought our team out there, and then we took an assemblage of CCSO operators that also helped. And we worked together as a team to resolve that. Vice versa, they have done this for us as well. When maybe it's a weekend when we just had too many of our operators not here in town, and we needed the support of the sheriff's office. So we've always been kind of working together in this fashion as far back as 2002 when our team existed. And so some of the other examples of why we need to work together are some of the manpower-intensive missions. And I'll tell you, one of them is simultaneous search warrants. We need to serve search warrants at exactly the same time. That takes quite a bit of personnel, and if they reach the SWAT threshold because of the risks involved, we'll work together on things like that. The other are some of the extended missions that take a lot of time and maybe go on for hours on end, and that happens a lot with the barricaded subjects or somebody in crisis where we're working on negotiating, and we need to work and get some relief to the operators. So that's another example of when we work together. And then some of the after action points when we work together over the years have been that we could be a lot more connected if we train together. We've always trained separately. SVPD's training days have been separate from CCSO's, and we operate off of different training manuals. Operate off of different policy manuals as well. So some of the after actions over the years has been like we really need to train more together, be more cohesive. We also need to probably be working off the same manual because there's some liability and risk when you get together and you want to handle some of the most high-risk operations, yet you don't have those things in common. Some of the challenges facing our team, I will tell you, is we've always been authorized for up to 15 operators on our team, which are, when I say operators, those are SWAT team members. But to recruit and retain that many in a department our size has been very difficult over the years. We've usually been around 10, so maybe 2/3 of our team has always been full. And then even less available for deployments and call-outs. Just think about that. That's a call-out can happen anytime. And we can't put the operators on standby 24/7 or they'll have no life. So the way it works is we put out the call because there's a need for a response. And when we know we already have a team that's 2/3 full, chances are we're going to get even less turnout in operators. And then we're dealing with some safety issues. And then what happens a lot of times is that kind of cascades into a kind of a strain placed on the on-duty patrol resources. So a lot of times when we have a small turnout of a SWAT element, we use our patrol officers for some of the inner perimeter assignments. And then again, now we're calling in officers to handle patrol because we have patrol also dedicated to the situation. And then another challenge we've experienced in our department is leadership moving up the ranks but are not quite qualified for the tactical command assignment. Now, typically in our department, the rank of lieutenant or higher has been in charge of the SWAT team. And what we've seen over the years is just less interest, one, because of the time commitment, two, because of the standards. And so we've seen cohorts of people moving through our department in leadership positions, but not getting the SWAT experience. And I would tell you don't put somebody in a position of tactical command who is not ready for it. It is very dangerous. You're making some very difficult decisions like deploying gas, using lethal force, and having a lot of experience and training in that is critical. We wouldn't put somebody in that position who's just not capable, hasn't had that experience. And it's like getting some experience on the battleground before you become a leader of troops. It's very similar. You got to get that experience doing that. And we're getting short on that. We just have people moving through the ranks in our department, great leaders, doing good stuff, but SWAT's just not their thing. And so, again, another challenge that we've been facing over the years. So regionalization is something that has actually been a trend across the state. The SWAT is a finite resource. Having officers that can meet all those standards, willing to do that, put in the extra time for the training. So in many counties in Arizona, they've already regionalized their teams. Usually it's with the sheriff's office as being the head and the municipalities joining. So to give you an example, Pima Regional SWAT Team. I actually went to the Pima Regional SWAT School back in 2006. And the Pima County Sheriff's Office ran the team. Smaller departments like Sahuarita and Oro Valley and Marana all joined, brought in operators, and then they worked together as a team. So this concept has actually been around for quite a while. And some of the other more rural counties do this specifically. You'll see it in Yavapai County, Pinal County, Town of Maricopa does it with Pinal County. I actually use their IGA as kind of a template here for the IGA I'm presenting to you today. And so we decided to start moving in the same direction. And actually, I have to tell you, the invitation to do this has been open for quite a while from the sheriff. Sheriff Daniels has invited us to be part of a regional SWAT team now for, I'd say, close to a decade. And it really was not too long after I made police chief that I decided we need to really start looking in earnest at doing this. We're short all the time, and there's safety aspects to this, as well as the service. So how we approached this to get where we are today is we looked at it more as like a pilot, because there's a lot we can do without an IGA when you're sworn peace officers. So what we started doing over the last 2 years is, one is aligned our training schedules. Kind of shared that with you earlier. that's been one of the takeaways from all these joint missions we've been doing anyway, is we need to really train together. The problem was that our training days were different. So what we did is we changed our training schedule at the PD to mirror CCSO's training schedule with the heavy Wednesday concept. So we aligned training schedules on Wednesdays and trained together 100% of the time. So we've now been doing that. Responded to each other's SWAT callouts in respective jurisdictions jointly. Again, we've been doing that now for a couple years and monitoring that. And then practiced differential tactical command and incident command assignments regularly between the two jurisdictions. That's another part that's important, and it's spelled out in the IGA. So you really only have one person in tactical command. Now, incident command falls on the jurisdiction. So let's say, for example, there's a SWAT call out in the city of Sierra Vista. I may have a commander who's incident command, it's our jurisdiction, but we call in a regional SWAT team relying on the regional SWAT commander to have tactical command. And so practicing those two roles and working and sharing those two roles, no matter what your shoulder patch was kind of what this pilot was all about, making sure we can do that, and we have. And then evaluated workload ability to only selectively assign officers to respond if appropriate. One thing that as a police chief I had a quick question on early on in this was, look, hey, if county's got a mission going on and it's way out in the east side of the county, I can't send all the SVPD over there. Someone's got to take care of this city. And there are other things to consider as well, things like overtime. So we want to be able to reserve to say, hey, look, we can only send a few people to help out there. Again, the IGA allows us to do that. And that's something we wanted to kind of test out in the pilot as well, and which we were able to do successfully. And then align team tactics to one cohesive unit. That's just working together, doing team missions together, and then the after action. And lastly, tested the budgets as remaining independent, because this IGA points out we already have our existing budget for our SWAT team, and we're not looking to change that at all. We're just going to keep that whole. Likewise, the Sheriff's Office has their own budget, and so over the last 2 years, we wanted to see how our budget has endured in this situation. And then develop a single combined SWAT policy manual. That was actually kind of a heavy lift, because taking two very large agencies and combining into one SWAT manual, that took some time to work through, but we successfully did that. We actually had committee come together, and we sat down and cranked it out and wrote everything that meets our standards for accreditation, meets the Sheriff's Office standards, and then the Sheriff and I both signed that. So we have a combined SWAT manual that we now follow. Some of the benefits noted so far, just having done this kind of ad hoc over the last 2 years, is that we have a large number of qualified SWAT officers available for each incident. So I told you we've had a hard time just keeping a full element just within our agency. Now when we combine, we obviously have a lot more officers available to respond, whether from the county or the city, to resolve an incident. And more SWAT assets available for each call out, especially safety equipment. The Sheriff's Office has 2 armored vehicles. We have 1. So we just increased, and then ballistic shields. We've increased some of the assets that we can bring to the scene, as well as some of the equipment, such as explosive breaching that the Sheriff's Office has. Another huge benefit I'm noticing here in the city is that we're seeing less burden on patrol resources during incidents, because when we do a SWAT activation here in the city, and we have both the city and county operators coming together, we can keep patrol handling the city, and the SWAT team just takes care of it. More efficient operations, enhanced problem-solving ability with more diverse team composition, and then higher standards for entry are maintained. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to try and fill a SWAT team by lowering standards. You just want to maintain the standard and get the people to the standard, and that's what we're doing through this. So a little bit more about the IGA. It has, and a lot of this is kind of in the IGA points toward the combined manual that spells out that we have oversight committee that includes the sheriff and I in selecting the team commander, and also approving selections and retention. And then each agency keeps its own budget as is. We're not changing the budget, which is actually ironic because we're probably going to be talking about budget today, and so that's another benefit. And then combined SWAT manual is a guiding document. It's really great now that we have one guiding document that we're all following. So we've been training together, doing missions together. And then now we have one guiding document, so the working together is a lot safer. The other benefit is working with the regional partnership is we just end up becoming even better partners with each other. This is actually the high risk, most intense things you do in police work right here. And if we can trust each other with this, we can trust each other with a lot of other things and work and continue to build that team building to serve both our jurisdictions. So that's just a little bit of the background. There's a lot in the IGA, and if there's any questions on the IGA or even just kind of how we've gotten here and how things would work out. A lot of the team is here today to support us and answer questions, and I can answer a lot of questions too, so I'll turn it over to the questions.
Questions? Yes, sir.
Questions, just some comments. Regional obviously is the way to go. We've seen it locally with our dispatch, with the way fire operates, right? Automatic A before Huachuca just makes much more sense. So I want to thank Chief Heiser and Sheriff Daniels for their willingness to merge this because, just like the military, it's hard when you come to, it's a touchy subject time when it comes to who's in charge, where's the funding come from, are we going to lose funding because we joined? Those are always touchy subjects. So, but I'm glad that you guys were looking at it and say that our community safety and readiness definitely comes before all of that. So you obviously understand that. So I appreciate that you working together. And much like, a military special operations unit, it's, when you said you train together, that's imperative to make sure, like, when you're on target, everybody's lockstep, right? That reduces fratricide, it reduces civilian casualties because you all know, hey, these are the movements, these are the hand signals, we know what we're doing because we don't train separately, which doesn't make sense at all. And then you go together to one mission and it's a mess. So I'm glad to hear that's finally happening, or that's been happening. And then finally, it's probably also a better opportunity when it comes toward maybe looking for funding moving forward to create a regional training area. When you have both agencies get together and say, hey, look, we both need this. This supports the community, right? So I think that obviously helps with that as well. So, your gear has gotten a lot better over the years. I remember when I first got here and I saw some of the stuff like the military was giving y'all for SWAT, and I was pretty sad because it looked, man, I wouldn't want to wear that stuff out there. So it's looked like it's gotten better. Hopefully that's the case for even the medics, the fire guys that are out there with you guys. So it's good to see that progression and that improvement. So I appreciate this putting this all together.
Thank you. And I failed to mention that actually regionalization does actually kind of leverage us in a better position to secure some more grant funding as well.
Real quick, Nate's not here. Does anybody know if Nate's had an opportunity to look over the IGA and if he had any issues with it?
So, so I actually am the one that took care of that. I gave it to him, and he actually made quite a bit of adjustment because I'm a SWAT guy. I'm not an attorney. Right. And so, yes, this is actually this version before you has been edited and has met his requirements.
Did he have any issues specifically with liability with our officers participating outside of the city or their officers inside our city, anything like that?
Well, Mayor McCaw, Councilmember Myers, of course, we have a number of joint missions that we perform with the county, so I'm confident that we meet all the liability requirements.
I thought so too. I just was curious before we go ahead and vote on it, which wouldn't be tonight, obviously, but soon. And then quickly, if we do enter into this IGA, does that mean that every rollout will always be a joint rollout, or will there still be times when SVPD SWAT does their own independent or county does their own independent SWAT, or will it always be joint?
It will always be joint, but we can always determine the size of the rollout, the composition of the rollout, and so if it's something that we want to do that's more of a low-key situation, we would consult and come up with a game plan together, which we've actually already done. There have been some times where we decided this is something that we don't need, operators coming from all the way across the county to get here for, but we would definitely consult them and at least approach it that way.
One last question. For instance, sometimes the feds would ask for help from state and locals. Are there times when the city and county policy would conflict with assistance to a fed operation, and that would pare down to, say, the tactical response?
No, I don't believe so, and I'll tell you because we've already been asked and we've been doing that. I think our response and our stance on that has been very equivalent between the two agencies. I don't
You
see any.
haven't seen an issue?
Not at all.
At all? Okay. Thank you.
Also, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So this sounds like a no-brainer. It's something that we need to do, but it's taken a long time. You said 10 years. We're the last one, or one of the last ones in the state to actually have a regional partnership. Are there any gotchas? Is there anything controversial that this has gotten pushback on that we should know about?
No, Councilmember Kilmurray, I went to the tactical command school when I was the commander of our SWAT team from NTOA back in 2016, and back then we went over, the benefits and the drawbacks then, and there weren't many then even, but it's actually even grown more toward the benefits. Now, there's always when you partner with another agency, there's always risks. For example, if I was to partner with an agency I didn't know much about or I didn't have a lot of communication with, I wouldn't want an officer who's maybe in a lot of trouble in that agency working with my officers. But thankfully, I don't. That's one thing with some of these bigger cities doing this. I could see that if I was in a different situation, I'd be a little apprehensive on that. It's like I'd like to know a little more, make sure I don't have officers that are under investigation for use of force issues that are on this joint team, and my officers are caught up with that because these agencies are so big, and I don't know that. Thankfully, we don't have that here, and that's where I can confidently tell you I know everything about the deputies, and the deputies know everything about us because we actually do each other's internal affairs also and conflict out. So we actually know everything about each other, and we just have that great relationship where everything is on the table. And so the nice thing about this is, and so that's to answer your question. That's one where I see you kind of want to know the quality of all the officers, and thankfully I can tell you I know the quality of all these officers. They actually do a lot of joint training. I go out there and talk to them and meet with them. But the sheriff and I have a good relationship. We don't hide anything from each other, so I don't see any gotchas.
So a little bit of a follow-up to that question. So this is regional, but for all practical purposes, it's county and Sierra Vista, right?
That's correct.
Is there an opportunity for other PDs within the county or even adjacent counties to join this organization?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's actually I believe the overall goal. I believe there's one from two from Benson, two from Benson Police Department have also joined the sheriff's office as well.
Now, is Benson going to sign in on this IGA? Are they going to be a
Yes,
three-way
yeah. So they
forward?
have a separate IGA already with the county for this. So then now that we're redoing this, we'll have to revisit that with them.
Is the county going to be? I guess they already are, but they're going to be the lead agency for all
That's-
this then.
That is correct. They are, and I will tell you, over the last 2 years, we've used this as an opportunity to vet how they do things, their leadership, and I will tell you, I am 100% behind them.
Okay.
Councilman Jackson had a question.
Yeah, I do have a question. Thank you, sir. I have a question, sir. So for the officers, is this could it be a promotion for the ones who want to go into the SWAT team? Is that how that works? And you evaluate them and see who's ready for that?
Well, it's not a promotion in the sense that you're getting a new rank. It's a collateral duty assignment where you test and meet all the requirements, and you get on the team. It's an extra duty. You do actually get an ad pay for it because it's a hazardous duty assignment. So you actually do earn more money. You also, the benefits we tell our officers, if you want to promote in our department, become a leader, really highly recommend people get on this team. You learn to be a communicator. You learn to be a team player. You learn how to handle complicated situations. Because I will tell you, when you become a police corporal in our department on the midnight shift, they have the keys to the city. They really do. They're in charge of the city, and we have a corporal making some pretty big decisions at 2 a.m. because they are the highest-ranking person on duty in the city for the police department. So having that SWAT experience really helps them in navigating and problem solving. So I use this as a way to develop future leaders.
Okay. Next question. So going into the SWAT, that means they have more training, more intense training, correct?
That's correct.
Do we offer, this is just a question, do we offer any bonuses when they get to that level? Because now they're being forced to do more training, more intense, more, engaging in this particular assignment. What
Yes.
do we offer?
So we offer, first of all, they get an ad pay for the assignment, and then they also in our career enhancement program, they get points for having taken on this assignment. And the points add to actually an additional pay in their paycheck through career enhancement.
So there is no sign-on bonus. I guess that's my question.
Not a sign-on bonus. no.
Okay, got you.
No.
Sorry. Military. So
Yeah.
accent. Okay.
And we also have Captain John Georgie from the Sheriff's Office. Would you like to say anything, sir?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, so I was on the SWAT team for CCSO for 15 years, and what Chief Heiser was saying, we've talked about this for a long time. It was just had to get the right people in the right place. So we appreciate where it's come. It's taken a long time, but we've wanted this for a long time because we do work closely together. We are a, so to speak, tight community. It's a big county, but a lot of the stuff, obviously Sierra Vista is the bigger of the communities, so a lot of stuff happens here, and we need each other regularly because of the size of our departments in our office. So this is a great thing, and just looking forward to seeing how it's going to go forward.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the Sheriff's Office?
I think I'm done.
Thank you, sir.
Actually, one more.
Yes, sir.
Captain, from the sheriff's perspective, and this goes back to my question about the lead agency. Is that you? Are you the lead for county SWAT?
Well, it'd be
SWAT?
Sheriff Daniels is technically the lead, but Lieutenant Larimer that's here, he's our SWAT commander right now on the county side. I don't know how it's working out between the two teams on if they've appointed a SWAT commander. Are you going?
Yes, it is going to be Lieutenant Larimer.
Yeah.
The sheriff and I both agree to that. So.
Lieutenant Larimer's he's worked his way up through the ranks in CCSO from deputy to sergeant to lieutenant now, and he's been on SWAT team, 10 years? Yeah, 10 years. Has a lot of experience, and I know the people on the guys that are on the SWAT team trust him, and he's a great leader. So,
Thanks, appreciate it.
yep, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, Chief.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
And you said the corporals have keys to the city
They do. I mean that literally, but I would tell you, corporals, I would tell you, when they sign up for that job, they sign up for a lot of responsibility. I was a corporal for 3 years, and it was eye-opening for me. You realize you're a shift supervisor. You got a lot of responsibility in this city. And so this SWAT, and Corporal Chavez has been through SWAT, and that's why he kind of made the top of the list there, because you take on these extra assignments. You push yourself a little bit in learning those uncomfortable decisions you have to do, like whether or not we need to breach something, or use of force subject matters, like, for example, less lethal tactics. You got to make those decisions as a supervisor. And so this is a really good ground for growing future leaders in your department.
And could you, for the dais, could you just recap about ALA, the training that you did with ALA?
Yeah, so that was just one example, but we did an active shooter, active killer trainer at ALA last year, where the regional SWAT team actually put that on. They were role players, evaluators, safety officers. And again, not only did we do that together because it's just great team building and we're working together, but we brought in all local law enforcement from around here, and a lot of people to get through that training. In fact, we're going to be doing that again. Probably one of these days, I'd like to actually probably use City Hall as a location and do a trainer there. So we might be looking for some role players. But anyway, that's one of the benefits is we're training our patrol officers better with a regional team as well.
You had your hand
I have my hand up.
up. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Totally got my hand up. No, I think it's an awesome program. I guess my only question, I'm just trying to figure out why we don't have a sign-on bonus for them. Because that's additional training,
Yeah.
more time. That's just my question. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how can we incorporate that later if we can make that happen, just like with the military.
Sure.
So-
Well, yeah.
That's just a question.
It's just additional duties. The military have
It is
additional
additional.
duties that we don't have sign
Train
on.
more, right?
We train.
Okay. Well, just a question.
I know Chavez is holding his, shaking his head yes and yes.
I know they're shaking their head behind me. I know they are.
I don't know.
But,
I'm just,
but we're going to talk about the budget next. So, but I think
right.
you know, there's also another competing thing is this. I will tell you, there is no dollar figure to do this job. That's
Exactly.
it's a lot of work. You got to really want to do it. If you are doing it for the sign-on bonus, and that's it, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. So what I like about the ad pay is you earn it. You get there. You don't get the ad pay till you become deployable, which means you went to the SWAT school. You now can respond to SWAT out. You kind of have to earn it once you've been on the team a little while, and then it's a decision. We've had officers commit to this, and they realize the time with my family is more important than that ad pay, and I got to respect that too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. There's a balance there on this for sure.
I guess on the opposite side of that, I mean,
Yeah.
from the skill set, I would think the opposite side of that, the retention guys, the guys that have been in 10 years, like, hey, you're still doing this, so thank you. That's probably something we could look at, like, hey,
Yes,
to
yes.
keep these guys around longer, guys and girls
Exactly.
around longer, like, and obviously, same thing with the fire side, like, the retention side is something that we really need to focus on better, I think, because if not, they can just jump somewhere else, and we want to keep them here.
Right.
Right,
We're
yeah.
investing in a lot of training here, and then the goal is to keep them here. Keep them here for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, 10 years is hard on the body, man. That's
Yeah.
That's true.
no, great job, Chief.
Thank you.
Not going against anything. I'm just saying.
One Bolo, and
Yeah.
that is a great job, Chief.
you.
Just out of curiosity, are your people, and that is to include the county people as well, are they trained in how to process meth labs?
Clandestine laboratory, like you talk about from the hazmat
Yeah,
perspective.
from the hazmat.
We haven't had one in a while. Do you guys?
Really?
Land lab. I think we have to call DA for that one. We used to have an officer. Actually, no, apparently, I don't want to make that public. So, I think Commander Brownson used to be our last trained person. We'd have to call an outside resource for sure.
I guess they're not as common as they used to be, huh?
No,
Yeah.
no.
I was just curious.
Sir.
Well, we're all knocking on wood for you. Okay, I was just curious. That's all.
Thank you. Anything else?
Appreciate the.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we go to item number 6, resolution 2026-017, staff report, Mr. Starr.
Mr. Kirkpatrick, he's gonna
Kirkpatrick.
take it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In July 2018, pursuant to 49 CFR 673.11, the Federal Transit Administration, FTA, published the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan final rule. This rule requires certain operators of public transportation systems receiving federal funds to develop safety plans that include the processes and procedures to implement safety management systems. The city has been and continues to receive funds under the Federal Transit Aid and Grant programs. The Public Transportation Agency safety plans include, among other provisions, that transit operators certify they have a safety plan, which includes safety performance targets and meets all the applicable requirements and standards as set forth in the Federal Transit Administration's Public Transportation Safety Program and the National Public Transportation Safety Plan. The last plan update was performed in 2021, and the current Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan update implements new requirements since the last approval, lists updated assessment metrics. Additionally, the plan formatting was significantly restructured, including the removal of redundant and/or outdated information. Lastly, I'd like to note that a preliminary review of this plan has been carried out by FTA, and formal acceptance by the city has been recommended. So at this time, I'm open to questions.
Questions from the dais? Yes, sir.
Are we just approving it or approving it as it is, or we send it to public comment, or what are we voting on actually?
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Kilmurray, we are at this time seeking approval from council.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. So this will be Kilpatrick. All right, we'll go to item number 7, Resolution 2026-018, staff report. Ms. Kenny Downing, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am pleased as punch to present to you a change to the personal rules and regulations that focuses on the presumptive cancer standard operating procedures that we've had several discussions about. It is now in its full form, and it's being presented to you as an amendment to the personal rules and regulations. I wanted to thank all of the staff that had input, because we wouldn't have been able to draft this without them. Fire Chief Jones, Deputy Chief Brad Devert, Josh Meeker, Chris Workman. From the Police Department, Chief Heiser, Deputy Armin Lewis, and Sean Bronson. We also received input in terms of a positive diagnosis from Sean Mott, as well as the appeals process from Chris Clayson. So all of those people we got input from in order to develop this procedure. So we're pretty confident that everyone is happy with it. They told me by email that they love it. So I'm here to present it as a joint effort from both of the entities. So if you look on page, believe it's PDF page 17 or page 7, where it starts, we are amending the Personal Rules and Regulations Rule 14. That it's currently called Safety and Training, but we're going to rename that chapter and we're going to call it Safety, Training, and Occupational Health. We've added a new section 4 that's now called Firefighter/Peace Officer Presumptive Cancer Standard Operating Procedures. It's a 5-page document, so I'm not going to read every single item because, as I mentioned, the police and fire told me they love it. But just to recap, we created a step-by-step process. So let's say we don't get our next presumptive claim for 7 years from now. We will be able to pull this out of our personal rules and regulations, and the employee will be able to follow step by step on what to do. We don't believe we missed any steps. It goes through getting the screening, the cancer screening through Vincere, if that contract is still there. It tells them what to do if they get a negative result, and then it goes into step by step if they do get a positive result. And it's essentially what we talked about before. Their first step is that they would call Triage Now to report the claim as a workers' compensation claim. Then they would notify HR so that we could notify Travelers, our current workers' compensation company, that we have a presumptive cancer claim and you have to approve it. Then Travelers or the workers' compensation company would take about 21 days to go through the whole procedure, but they would assign a workers' compensation number and an ICA number for the Industrial Commission so that the employee can start working on getting their treatments, because all they have to do is present the claim number to a medical provider that accepts workers' compensation, and they shouldn't have to pay anything. So we made sure those steps were very clear, and we repeat in here, please follow what the workers' compensation carrier tells you. The workers' compensation company will provide a claims agent to help you step by step. They will open a portal for the patient to upload their documents. They will assign them a nurse that will be available by the phone so that any questions the employee would have in regards to their workers' compensation claim, all they have to do is call the Travelers agents. And then once they actually have medical procedures or testing scheduled, either the cancer screening company or the workers' compensation company can recommend the proper medical facilities to get this work done. As we mentioned before, Travelers won't recommend one company. They will always give a choice of 3, and the employee could pick any of those 3, or they could call some of their other peers at other agencies who've gone through this process and say, hey, I know you're in Tucson, or I know you're in Phoenix. What agency or what medical provider did you use? So there's nothing holding our hands behind our back in terms of which medical provider who can provide the services. So lastly, we wanted to talk about what if the workers' compensation claim is not approved. So we added an item number 6. It says the city will issue a letter notifying the employee that the city will cover the claim if denied by the workers' compensation carrier after going through the entire industrial commission process. And if the denial is upheld, the city agrees to instruct our workers' compensation carrier to accept the claim and to have it processed and approved. The city will reimburse the employee for any out-of-pocket deductibles or co-pays for medical expenses related to testing or treatment. Of course, if they follow the process, we don't expect any out-of-pockets to happen, but we wanted to make sure it's written down. If the employee has less than 3 years with the city and not a sufficient amount of sick leave, they can utilize the new employee emergency family leave policy if they qualify. And lastly, if the firefighter or peace officer's claim is approved by the statute, sometimes the workers' compensation company will pay them 66 2/3% of their salary for missed time. The city will add additional leave to the employee to be equivalent for that unpaid 33 1/3%. So therefore, we will always keep the employee whole. We've added additional resources, which would cover the firefighter state associations for additional resources because the fire department and police department thought that those associations would be helpful as the employee is going through this process. The next session we added was for retirees because, as we mentioned, the statute also includes retirees as long as they meet the qualifications of the statute, which is the cancer diagnosis. They are currently 65 years age and younger, and they've retired from the city of Sierra Vista as a firefighter, fire inspector, or peace officer within 15 years. If all of those have been met, then that retiree can create a workers' compensation claim. So anyone who's listening, if you're a retiree and you're in this situation, please call City of Sierra Vista Human Resources so that we can work on your workers' compensation claim and hopefully get reimbursed back. Hopefully you'll have receipts and then we can get that claim finished. Lastly is the appeals process, and I once again wanted to thank Chris Clayson because he's one of the few who went through the entire appeals process. We were able to document all the steps he went through and best practices so that if for some reason we've done all the steps and the claim still gets denied and it still has to go to appeal, now we have a step-by-step process on how to get through that appeals process. So essentially the employee would have to appeal through the ICA, the Industrial Commission. They would have to upload their annual physicals. The city would show proof that they didn't have cancer when they were hired. They would have to show proof of their years of experience as a firefighter or police officer, and they would have to show proof of their cancer diagnosis. Once all those are uploaded, the ICA would schedule a hearing with the employee and/or the employee's attorney. They would hear his case, and the employee would make a decision on that date, the date of the hearing. If the judge decides in the employee's favor, then the employee would tell HR, hey, I've just won my appeal, and HR would work with the workers' compensation carrier to have any out-of-pocket expenses reimbursed back to the employee. And essentially, that is it. We are very happy with the teamwork that we worked with, and I once again wanted to thank our entire police and fire team for helping us draft it.
Thank you, ma'am, for the presentation. Questions, comments from Gladys? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hey, Kenny, great job. It's awesome, and thanks for attributing the rest of the success to all the other players too. That was awesome. A question about the presumed cancer is state statute. So how are we? I fully support bringing in the peace officers also. So how are we able to apply that since they don't have a specific statute including police officers?
So the police officers do have a statute. The first page after Section 4, it says the applicable statutes are 23-901.01, which references peace officers. 23-901.09 is fire. So both of them are in there, and they both are in Arizona statute.
So then, now my follow-on question is: we discussed briefly that we have other employees in the city who are exposed to hazardous material, for example, waste management. And is there any? They correct me if I'm wrong. They are not covered by any state statute, so we would not be able to incorporate them into this policy. Correct?
You are correct, sir. Yes.
Okay. And then
but we still have our Councilmember Kilmurray. We still have our regular medical plan that still covers cancers, and the only expense out of their pocket would be the deductibles.
Yes. And we could probably follow on some of these processes just from a cultural point of view too across all of our divisions, right? Even though there's not presumptions.
We can definitely discuss those.
Okay. And then a question on process, does council typically sign off on policy changes like this, or is it just because we had council interest?
No, every change to the personnel rules and regulations get presented to council for approval. So in addition to this one now, you may be seeing 2 or 3 more times I come up here with new additions to the personnel rules and regs. So yeah, it is a council approved document.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the dais? Yes, sir.
No, just good work. Appreciate you working with all the, like you mentioned, everybody involved. That's how they all. That's how it always should be. Not operating in a vacuum and thinking, oh, this is what they want. You don't know what they want if you don't talk to them. So I appreciate the process. It was good.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am.
It was nice to hear the feedback after you made the changes. It was nice to hear that, so, good work.
And we go to item number 8, Resolution 2026-019, staff report. Mr. Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The origin of this IGA started almost 10 years ago, which predates me in this position, so it took some time to put together the history on this. But right around 2017, if you recall, a lot of states entered into lawsuits against 3 drug manufacturers, one manufacturer and 3 pharmaceutical distributors, all related to opioids. And so Arizona joined into those lawsuits, and around 2020, they entered into settlement negotiations. So the state requested that local municipalities opt in at that time, so we would be able to participate and get our proportionate share of whatever settlement was decided as this went through the process. So the city, all other cities in Cochise County and Cochise County all joined the state in the One Arizona Opioid Settlement Memorandum of Understanding, and so that created the structure for distributing this opioid money throughout all the participating entities. So back in 2021, council passed Resolution 2021-070, which designated the city attorney as the authorized individual to sign all settlement documents on your behalf. And he has been signing those as they have come through the process. Back in 2022, the state of Arizona signed and accepted that One Arizona Distribution of Opioid Settlement Funds Agreement, which made everything official, and it determined that our share of that distribution was just over $404,000, and collectively, the amount pulled between all cities who opted to pool in with the county puts the total at just over $2.3 million. By itself, it's not much to affect a program by ourselves, but by pooling the money all together with the county and the other cities. Wilcox did opt out. They decided to handle this on their own. But altogether, we can actually put together a program to have an effect. So the funds have to be used on specific strategies that will help fight the opioid epidemic. And used on a project to benefit the entire county. The health department will be responsible for all reporting and administration of the pooled funds. And then the use of the pooled funds will be determined by a committee with representatives from each of the participating cities and towns, and it'll be chaired by the county administrator. So there's no formal decision yet on how the funds will be used, but that decision will be made by the group, and it has to be approved then by the Board of Supervisors. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it referenced Exhibit C, and it sounded like Exhibit C contained information, but I couldn't find it anywhere in there. Do you know what's in? Is it
I
just a missing
apologize, Mr.
attachment?
Kilmurray, it's missing the attachments, so I'll get those attached.
Do you have like a short summary of what that exactly is? Is it how the resources are used, or is that just a distribution list? It's on section 4, use of funds. It references.
I think it's just a list of the amounts, so it would show that like ours is $404,126.30. It would go through all of the cities and what their individual allocations were.
Okay. And then you said that the city administrator, she chairs this group that determines the funding. Is it her, or is it the Cochise County Health and Social Services Department?
The county administrator will be the chair, the health services director will be on the committee.
On the committee. So, and there'll be one, so we get 2 representatives, and smaller cities get 1 representative?
Yes.
And then it's all the cities in the county except for Wilcox?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, comments?
So
Sir.
our share or the county share is 404,000?
Our share, 404.
And so when Wilcox opted out, they're getting their equivalent of that to use as they see fit, is that right?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Myers, I think their share was around $80,000 or something like that, so it's population based.
And we see that it's more beneficial to participate in the county with our 400 and something thousand and use it that way?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Myers, there's been a lot of discussions over a number of years that I've had regarding this, and it was felt that even at 404,000, it wasn't really enough to make the impact that we'd like to see. So we thought by pulling in discussions with the county and other cities, we thought by pulling the money together, we could contribute to projects that would have a more lasting impact to the county.
It has to be used for specific purposes,
Yes.
right? Yeah, okay.
That's correct.
We discussed this in DC. There was a panel about this, of how that's going, how others. Tempe had a good example. There's 3 cities they kind of highlighted and showcased. So, and they're kind of doing the same thing, like pulling your resources together to make like a quick reaction team is what they're using their money for. So like PD, medical, faith-based, community maybe member, staff members are formed like this team, and then you look at your community and say who's the most affected. Right, in some communities it's their youth, in some communities it's the demographic, it's the neighborhood, whatever. So it seems to have worked out well for those other 3 cities that they showed that highlighted that they were using their money for that. And you have until 2040 to use it, but I think most cities are gonna use it way before that. Obviously, that's not gonna last very long.
Yeah, there will continue to be money, coming in for this, but of course, you're right, at some point it's
Right.
going to stop.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Who's Sierra Vista's representatives going to be? How are you guys going to choose them?
We haven't decided that yet.
Are they maybe come from like fire and medical or something, or police?
Once we see, what the membership is, from the county, and then we'll make a determination, who needs to be there. But it seems to me that public safety should have an involvement in that, so there will be a public safety representative.
Any more questions, comments from the guys? All right, we go to item number 9, resolution 2026-020, staff report. Well, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name's Gabe Squires. I'm the Internal Operations Manager of Public Works. And this resolution before you is for the city to enter into a subrecipient intergovernmental agreement with the Sierra Vista MPO. And so what this agreement does, it allows the city to receive $250,000 from the MPO that can go towards replacing some of the city's outdated traffic signal preemption equipment at our different intersections throughout the city. And so with this agreement, the city would be required to pay a 5.7% match, which is $15,111.35. So the total project cost would be $265,111.35. Now, the way this agreement is set up, the city would have to first purchase and install the equipment with city money, and then once the project is done, the MPO would reimburse the city that $250,000. And so just for brief background on traffic signal preemption. So preemption is what makes the light turn green or stay green when an emergency vehicle is approaching the intersection. And so it allows that emergency vehicle to pass through the intersection quicker and safer. The city's current preemption equipment is about 25 years old. And so it's outdated and it's becoming more difficult to service and to maintain. Now, one more note on this IGA. These funds would be sufficient to cover about half of the city's existing preemption equipment. And so we would be left with some intersections would have the new equipment, and then some intersections would, still be using the old existing preemption equipment, but all the emergency vehicles would be able to preempt any of the two types of intersection. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you for presenting that. The 76 detectors, is that the whole, and this would be covering half of those? Or in it, the 120 emitters, 19 processors?
The numbers on there are based on about half of what the city would need. It's based on the.
So 76 is half, and 120, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there were so many.
A
Okay.
lot, yeah.
And I'm surprised they still work, honestly. 25 years is a long time. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
The priority, I mean, you said it's gonna be half and half for a while. It's gonna be based off of data, like accident data or traffic data or?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Rodriguez, yeah, so ultimately fire and police will determine which intersections to do with the new equipment. But yeah, likely it will be the intersections that are the most busy. But yeah, our streets division will work closely with fire and police to determine that.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just a curiosity, is there gonna be like two buttons in each emergency vehicle, one for old equipment, one for new equipment?
So, yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kilmurray, great question. So the existing equipment that we have right now is based on sound from the sirens. And so, when the emergency vehicle comes up to the intersection, it detects that siren sound and it preempts, so it makes the light turn green. This new equipment, if approved, is based on infrared light. And so each emergency vehicle is outfitted with, it's a little black box and it just emits an infrared light. And then on the signal itself, there's another little box and that's a detector. And so it detects that infrared light. And so regardless of which intersection the vehicle comes up to, it'll either preempt it because of the siren or it'll preempt it because of the infrared light. And that light turns on when the siren and the lights on the emergency vehicle turn on. So there's not like two buttons. It's really somewhat automatic once fire or police go into code 3 or whatever it is that,
So sheriff's car comes into Sierra Vista and their vehicles will be able to operate this also, just transparently?
With the sound one, yes, with our existing system. If the sheriff or any other outside agency wants to be able to preempt one of the signals that has the new equipment, they would have to purchase one of the emitters, and their vehicle would have to be outfitted with that infrared emitter in order to preempt that specific signal.
So, and then part of this funding will be to equip all of our vehicles in Sierra Vista?
Correct, yes. So that's part of the funding. We would first put emitters on all the vehicles, and then whatever money's left over, we would, put the rest of the equipment on the intersections themselves. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. So, Highway 9290, that intersection, ADOT owns that.
Correct.
So how would our emitters, are they going to upgrade their system or?
So, Mr. Mayor, great question. So within the city limits, there's 51 intersections. 21 of those belong or are owned by ADOT.
Yes, sir.
The Streets Division, our city streets division, they have two responsibilities with ADOT signals. The first is this, or one of them is the signage, and the other one is the preemption equipment. And then ADOT handles everything else with that signal. And so, yes, with this new equipment, we would replace the preemption equipment on ADOT signals as well, assuming that's one of the intersections that fire and police wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a city responsibility, is the preemption.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, sir.
So the new preemption equipment will not disband the old. It just is a kind of a new upgrade, but they'll both be in effect. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So the old, like if the county's using the old style or DPS or whatever, it's going to activate that way, and ours is going to activate both ways.
So just, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Myers. And just to clarify a little bit, so once we install the new equipment on a traffic signal, the old goes away 100%. They can't work together on the same intersection.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's either one or the other.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
There's a lot. All right. Any more questions from the guys?
County better get some emitters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they should. All right, thank you, Mr. Squires. And go to item number 10, Resolution 2026-021, staff report. Hey, Mr. Pregler.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Mayor and members of council. So Catholic Community Services will be applying for congressionally directed funding for a proposed affordable housing project on East Busby Drive. The total amount to be requested is $2 million. Now, according to the rules of the funding program, a nonprofit requires local governments to be the project sponsor and fiscal agent for this grant. Now, the mechanism for this is through a memorandum of understanding, which specifically lists the roles of both the city and Catholic Community Services. Specifically, the city's role will be to, one, as I stated, serve as fiscal agent and recipient of the congressional directed spending. Two, to receive and administer federal funds in accordance with applicable federal, state, and local requirements. Three, to maintain financial records documenting the receipt and expenditure of federal funds associated with the project. Four, to disperse the funds to Catholic Community Services or authorized project entities in accordance with federal funding requirements and any subsequent agreements executed between both parties. And finally, provide reasonable oversight necessary to ensure compliance with applicable federal requirements. Now, the responsibility of Catholic Community Services will be to serve as a project manager and developer responsible for the planning, financing, development, and completion of the project. They are to secure all the financing necessary to complete the project. They are to apply for, obtain, and maintain all permits, approvals, and authorizations required for the development and construction of the project, including site plans, building permits, environmental clearances, and any other regulatory approvals. Four, to comply with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations associated with the federal funds. Provide documentation necessary for the city to administer and report on the federal fund associated with the project. And finally, maintain records demonstrating compliance with federal funding requirements and make such records available for review if required by federal or state authorities. So in addition to the memorandum of understanding, Catholic Community Services has requested the city provide a letter of support for the proposed project. And I believe a copy of that is in your packets. So Terrence from Catholic Community Services will be here on Thursday, not only to talk about the CDBG project, but also to provide more specific information about the housing project and more information about the funding opportunity. So that concludes staff support, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Questions from you guys? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jeff. I wanted to ask about, okay, so before any disbursement of funds through us, we're gonna write up a separate sub-recipient agreement, and that will include a breakdown of, like an admin fee for the cost of all the stuff we're doing there? Okay.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Just since it wasn't listed in here, I just want to make sure, like, that's a lot of work.
Right,
Okay.
Vice Mayor Flowers. This simply is just providing the roles of each party, and then there will be a separate sub-recipient agreement.
Thank you.
All right. No questions? Go to item number 11, Resolution 2026-022. Council for IDA on the line. Mr. Salina, are you there?
I am, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thank you. I thank you for allowing me to appear remotely today on behalf of the Sierra Vista IDA work session. And I plan to see all of you on Thursday. The resolution before you is from Sierra Vista IDA, relates to a charter school financing here in Arizona for Champion School. Champion School has two prior bond issues from Sierra Vista IDA, both of which are currently outstanding. This financing is to use the bond proceeds to refinance their original school. They have 3 schools, and to also provide additional equipment and improvements at all 3 sites. The bonds will be unrated. publicly sold by H.J. Sims, but only to qualified investors and accredited investors. As always, these bonds are not a pledge of the credit of either the Sierra Vista IDA or the city. Instead, they're the sole financial responsibility for Champion Schools, and there is no financial obligation by either the city or the IDA from their general credit for these bonds. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from the dais? I'm still looking for
Yeah,
Dimitri.
it got rescheduled.
Oh, it got rescheduled again? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'll see you Thursday.
See you Thursday. We go to item number 12, Resolution 2026-023, staff report. Mr. Felix.
Mayor, members of council, in March of 2025, the council approved a two-step rate increase for the sewer sanitation rates after we've had multiple presentations by both Finance and Public Works in regards to the deteriorating financial situation of both funds and both operations. For your reference, I've included in the cover memo what the rates that the council agreed to do. During this year's legislative session, there were two bills introduced to freeze all cities from being able to raise any rate, fee, or charge starting July 1, 2026 for 4 years. When I asked the league when this came up that we'd already passed this resolution a year ago, I was told that that will not matter if these go past. Doesn't matter when we pass them, we will not be able to raise the rates. And I actually found out yesterday in the finance managers meeting with the league, there's a third bill introduced by Representative Olson in the Senate to do the same thing. They're trying House, Senate, and direct to the voters to get this thing passed. We can legally change the implementation date from July 1 to June 30th, which will have zero effect on anyone's ratepayers because we can technically say we put it in 1 second before midnight, so no ratepayer will have any extra fees or charges or anything like that. But then this will have it done so that if any of these do go through, due to the critical nature of the sewer sanitation funds, these rates will be in place and they will not be, proposed laws will not affect them. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Just to clarify, I mean, this process, right? So the state is trying to pass something that's for 4 years. Sounds like a great idea because nobody can get a price hike, right? Saving the local people money. But now the cities are stuck with, how do we pay for our stuff that?
All of our prices, as we said in our meeting, all of our prices are going up.
Right.
Our construction costs are certainly going up more than the inflation cost, and it will be none. We will not be able to raise sewer sanitation rates. We can't even raise the park fees for people to rent a pagoda if, they wanted to rent like one of our things at the park, or cove prices for people to come swim. Will be a complete ban on any rate, fee, or charge increase by any city in the state.
It's pushed the onus back on the city to figure out how to pay for it, right?
Exactly.
And nobody wants to raise taxes, but that's kind of like what they leave everybody.
Well, we won't be able to raise taxes because that will be off the table too. It's nothing. Which will, if it does pass, there will be some cities in Arizona that will have some severe financial challenges with this.
For sure.
Okay.
So if we approve this, we'll get the increase in for its effective.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking. I say that a lot throughout the session. Because the enterprise funds have to sustain themselves, so I don't know what they expect for cities and towns to do when they tie our hands like that. But
Aren't we?
Thank you for finding a way to get ahead of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Aren't we required to maintain the enterprise funds? Isn't that another law that we have to maintain a positive balance on those? Or is that not the case?
Well, I don't know if it's a law or not, Councilmember Kilmurray, but the purpose of an enterprise fund is to operate that particular service as a business. Yeah. So, we have to make that fund balance in the budget process.
So, and of course, there's two components to that, the revenue, which are the rates that come in, and then costs. So if this goes through the legislature and we're not able to increase rates given the, inflation and everything that's going on around us, then we have to find ways to cut back services to balance. So that would be our challenge during this 4-year period. So.
Mayor, Councilman Kilmurray, they can go into a deficit, so technically they would be bankrupt. The refuse fund has had a negative fund balance before.
Right.
Then the real challenge will be in 4 years, when the rate is off, you will be looking at significant rate increases to try and get the fund to be back whole.
That sounds like a crisis to me, Dave.
Hey.
That I'm sure the legislature would help fix.
When you guys have the discussion with the legislators, are legislators for or against these efforts?
I don't remember this coming up. Was this? No.
I thought this was a big discussion, didn't
Mr.
come up.
Mayor, council members, had it not been introduced yet at the time we met with our legislators.
Do you have a feel for what the three of them are thinking?
I'm
Okay.
You rather not. So.
I'd say they're probably for it if just you go back in time when it came to when it comes to trash and waste management and how they changed the number of we like the big box stores in town like Walmart and Target, things like that. They had to service, they had to use us, but now that they lifted that cap and it was below, I think it was below 50,000, they had to use local, which really helped us a lot on our fund.
Mm-hmm.
But when they changed the law to said anybody can come in here and it's free enterprise, it's great. But now that hurt us back then, and now we're feeling it even more now because we don't have that. We don't have those big box stores in town using our trash service to help us with our bill. Okay. Now they're coming from Tucson to come pick up that stuff, and that's really affecting our rates still to this day.
Would these laws affect like the private carriers who service the county?
No.
So they can raise their rates?
No, they can raise their rates. It only affects municipalities.
That's the theme.
And try to answer your question, Councilman Kilmurray, in a nice way. History has not been kind.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
And one of our prior local senators introduced legislation specifically naming the city, because we would charge refuse and sewer fees to vacant homes because we still had to have people to go out there. We still had to have infrastructure there to do and maintain it. And they pushed through legislation to not allow us to put fees and charges on vacant homes.
Yeah.
And you can see who's sponsoring what bill on azleg.gov.
Yeah, and who's already signed on to it.
It'll show all the names.
All right. Thank you, sir. No more questions from the doc? Great. Thank you, sir. And it is almost 4:30. We're in agreement to go forward. Just how long and a half? Okay. Good. So we have presentations for tonight. The mid-year budget review. Mr. Felix. Also want to note, Mr. Felix is wearing some awesome cufflinks from ASU. Just want to note that. Just want to note that.
Mayor, members of council, this is a good news, bad news. I have the nickname of Downer Dave, but in talking with the city manager, I get to avoid the downer part of much of today's presentation, and he gets to do that piece. In mid-year financials, the city is doing well. We are on track to not use any general fund reserves. But one of the challenges coming up is we will probably, scheduling to do the equipment financing this year. We've not done one in a while. And the reason for that is a state law called the Expenditure Limitation Report. The expenditure limitation is something that Arizona passed by the voters back in 1980, following those of you who may remember, California's Prop 300. Now, this is a completely expenditure-driven limit. It is set to what your expenditures were in 1979, growing for inflation and population growth since then. It has nothing to do with revenues. It has nothing to do with services you may add from that time to now. To change the limit, you have to go to a public vote, which we did in 2001 to get it moved up. Certain things are excluded from the expenditures, like any grants that we get, those don't count. If, like the $1 million donation that we got towards the animal control, that deducts those expenditures. And the big one is issuance of debt and all the debt service on that issuance. So it kind of, if you're getting close like we are and like we were really in 2001, it almost forces you to finance things, even though like we have today, money in the bank to pay for it. So that's what we're facing, that's what we're coming up against. So we'll be doing equipment financing this year to help keep us under. We are currently about $1 million under expenditure limitation for 25, and understanding that our limit is about $69,700,000, and the expenditures that qualify for us are about $68 million. So we are very close to getting there. And the penalties are severe. You can lose up to a third of your state shared revenues, depending on how you go over it, how many times you go over it. We do have a cushion built up from prior years of savings in the HERF fund, the Internal Services Fund, and the interest we've earned. But going forward, this is something we need to keep an eye on. So there may be general fund reserve growth, but it would be due to the financing. We'll go out the minimum term of 3 years, which then gets us to use that debt service to go under the limitation. In closing last year's books, we are going to use about $29,000 of general fund reserves, so there'll be no reserve growth for last fiscal year, but we did cash out quite a few projects, so that's a good thing. We did not have to take on debt last year and incur any interest costs. That puts the general fund reserves at just over $10 million. City-approved policy, council-approved policy is for a 2-month reserve balance for general fund expenditures and all funds that are supported on that. We are currently at a 2-month, 11-day supply at the end of the fiscal year with that going. At that, I'll let Chuck, if he wants to talk now about the other things that have come up since then that we are facing for this upcoming year.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave. Mayor McCaw, members of the council. This is really kind of our budget kickoff work session. So we start with the mid-year budget review. Normally, there would be a general fund balance that we would be recommending to the council, how to use that. In the past, it's generally gone into reserves. It could go to things like public safety retirement system and other things that council has chosen to do over time. This year, we don't have to have that discussion because there is no fund balance to allocate. And I see that as an issue going forward as well. We're pretty fully staffed, and generally, since we budget 100% of our personnel costs in each budget, vacancies, retirements, those kind of things generally generate the fund balance for us that we have at the end of the year. Since our staffing is pretty full, we're not generating those dollars. David did use a lot of the reserve that would have been generated to pay off the sewer fund for the acquisition of the golf course. So that's the primary reason why we don't have that. So, turning focus from that, everything else in terms of the budget and our accounting looks pretty good at this point. So. But going into next year, you've heard me talk about sales tax revenues ad nauseum month after month. And I have that sales tax report here. So based on actuals from fiscal year 25 to 26 year to date, we are up 0.72% or $114,000 or so from last year. So hard to get much flatter than that. And I'm a broken record when I talk about flat revenues. That's been the case now for a couple of years. And we can operate under flat revenues, but as we've been discussing with regards to rates and various things, employee costs go up, inflation is there, maintenance items go up, insurance, all those things go up. But when you have flat revenues and costs are going like that, problems can ensue, and it causes us to have, less, of a cushion to work with going into next year's budget. So that was a challenge, and I'm going to present this in terms of the challenges that we face in preparing a balanced budget for your consideration this fiscal year as we go through it. So flat revenue is one of them. Second is hits to state shared revenues. I talked, somewhat about Santan Valley incorporating, and David has prepared the numbers for that. So in terms of lost state shared revenues to us, we're looking at state shared sales tax loss of over $110,000 just from that incorporation, and then a loss of state shared income tax of over $154,000 for a total loss of $265,200 or so, just from incorporation of a new city taking some of those state shared revenues. So the pie didn't grow because we have a new city. The pie just got divided up more. And that's always been an issue for us, especially in the Valley, because the Valley cities continue to grow faster than Sierra Vista does. On top of that, last year, of course, the federal government and Congress passed the Big Beautiful Bill. And right now, the legislature is dealing with compliance with the federal tax code. Usually, there'll be some changes in the federal tax code. States will follow suit and make those changes. So, makes it a little easier for everybody then to file their taxes and all that. This year, if they go ahead and do that at the legislature, that will cost us in state shared income tax $570,000 to that particular revenue source, going forward. So we don't know exactly what that's going to do, but to give you an idea, in our budget, in terms of the general fund, this fiscal year, combined state shared sales tax and income tax. Dave, you can sit down. You don't have to stand here. So, we had a budget of $15,465,000. Our initial league estimates, without these things that I just talked about, were $16,131,000. So we were looking at growth there, around the $700,000 range for revenues that we were going to work with regards to the next fiscal year's budget. Assuming that the federal tax code compliance is finally approved, and the legislature is going to be battling over this with the governor's office probably for the next couple of months. Instead of $16,000,001, we would be down to $15,324,000, and that would be a substantial loss of about $800,000 from what we're currently working with in the budget. So I have directed Victoria and the budget team to incorporate those hits to revenue in the budget, and we will strive to work around them. But those are big numbers for us, and that will be absolutely an issue going forward. So now you have flat local sales tax revenues, and now you have hits to our other major revenue sources in the general fund for state shared revenues. On top of that, our next challenge is regarding the minimum wage increase, so causing compression, particularly in the lower levels of our pay scale. Obviously, adjustments in class comp need to occur. Those will all come in with costs. We don't have those numbers yet, but when we have your work session dealing with personnel costs, we'll have a better idea of how to do that. Before all this happened, I was wrestling with whether we could do a 2 or 4% raise for employees going into next fiscal year. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to do that now with the numbers that we have. So that's going to be something that we'll be wrestling with in terms of the numbers. We'll be having a staff meeting, emergency staff meeting Thursday to go over this with the department heads, and we'll start working together with the budget team to see how we will be addressing these and what we think the priorities should be. Also, on top of that, we have had meetings with our health insurance consultants over the last couple weeks. We've had some major claims experiences over the last year and rising costs, obviously, of medical insurance, medical costs. They were proposing a 50% increase in employee health insurance premiums. Obviously, that's a big number and would absolutely negatively impact our employees in terms of their individual and family coverage. We've developed a plan to work that down to 20% increases, and we don't have the numbers yet, but we'll be running them. Right now, the public is subsidizing roughly 25% of those health insurance costs, and of course, the employees picking up the rest. To mitigate that, we're looking at maybe increasing the public side of that, along with increased costs for health insurance. So you can see the problem there where we're dealing with potential problems with being able to give raises in the current environment, and then seeing health insurance costs go up to employees. So you're actually looking at paychecks decreasing in an environment where you have inflation and increasing costs going around. So we're dealing with that as well. Dave talked about expenditure limitation and what we have to watch for that. And then, of course, our regular liability insurance, I'm sure, is going to be a healthy increase. I'm looking over at Jill because she oversees that, but and she's nodding her head. So, that probably won't be as big a hit as these other ones will be, but there still will be a substantial increase, I'm sure, in that arena as well. So what happens when you do that? Obviously, you just try to work around these numbers, and we'll have to work together with the departments to do that. Projects are definitely on the table, and we're going to have to discuss how we're going to budget for those, or whether we will even be able to budget for them in terms of hitting the general fund and the capital improvements fund, which are both sales tax supported, general fund supported. Roadrunner Park, we're hoping to get a $1.5 million grant from the State Land and Water Conservation Fund for phase one of that particular park. That's a great thing, but it also means it needs a 50% match. So that's $1.5 million we're talking about to proceed with Roadrunner Park. We've been in discussion with the school district about Rothery Center. As you know, they're planning to vacate that. They've approached us about potential acquisition, so we're in the phases of looking at having that appraised, and then seeing what those numbers are, and then going back and working with the school district. That would obviously increase any debt service requirements that may be coming out of the capital improvements fund, which we don't have any numbers on that. Of course, golf center renovations we're talking about, and one of the projects going on is architecture for that. And then the biggest ticket item is the Station 4 expansion for fire and EMS. The building construction, we're looking at probably $2 million for that. Personnel costs, probably additional 9 to 12 firefighters, and similar number of EMS personnel, and of course a new truck. The reason I bring this up is because this is the most expensive of all the projects that we're looking at, but it is public safety related, and we know the needs with call loads increasing and all that. But this particular project increases your base budget. So, and the last time we did this, when Station 3 was was put online back in 2006. That required a tax increase, from the city council in order to meet those budget needs. There's only been one tax increase since then. As we know, we just talked about the legislature capping taxes and fee increases, so not much help there for us. And of course, with the food tax thing going on the ballot as well, that is a challenge as well. So those are projects that we're going to have to work on internally to see what we can do and what we can present to you and try to get a sense of council's priorities as well. Other projects that we're working on that will need attention, but not necessarily hitting the general fund, is the expansion of the Environmental Operations Park, a sewer project which needs to be done. Obviously, that'll occur within the sewer fund, and again, rates will probably need to go up in order to accommodate that. And if the legislature does not help us with that, that'll be another problem with regards to what we need to do with that. Of course, a growing community needs to be able to expand its sewer plant, or you can't grow. So it's just that simple. And then the airport sewer extension project and other utilities that need to go on at the airport, which will accommodate future development of the 203 acres. The airport fund is pretty healthy right now, but those are pretty large projects that will need to be done in order to accommodate that. So these are the challenges that we face in giving you a balanced budget. I'm confident that we will be able to balance the budget despite the challenges that we face. Mostly because we have to. It's state law, so the budget has to be balanced, and we'll go ahead and do that. But we have a lot of work to do to get to that point, and working with you, in the work sessions that are coming up here over the next 2 months. So I just wanted to lay out, what we're facing going into next year's budget, and certainly it's probably the most challenging environment we've had since the 2010 recession kicked in here. And it's weird because we're not really in a recession, but the revenue growth just isn't there to support the costs that we're facing. So hopefully that won't be as long lasting as that one, because that took about 8 years to work through, and a lot of things occurred, like hiring freezes, no raises for a number of years. So it's a very serious situation. So I'll be looking at options, because I believe we need to start now in addressing this problem, not waiting for the budget to be done to do that. So I'm sorry to have to present that news to you tonight, but I think it's important for you and the public to know what we're facing going into next year's budget. And that's all I have then, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Any questions, comments from you guys? Yes, sir.
Hey, Chuck, when you do, so I'm trying to make sense of the mid-year budget figures that you gave. When you project the revenues and when you project the expenditures, is it just a linear curve, or are we halfway based on seasonal expenditures and seasonal revenue?
Well, go ahead, Dave.
The budget figure itself is just an even divide by 12. We do not try to put any cyclicality in it, and we certainly don't try and put cyclicality in individual department expenditures. For example, IT, most of their expenditures are in the first quarter of the year. Everybody wants and these are the big items. These are the Spillman, the Munis, and those type of software. Parks, well, you're going to fertilize now, so their big expenses are going to hit now. We don't try to get that. When it comes to revenue forecasting, we wait, and we are continually throughout the budget process updating what our estimate for next year will be. That is how in 2008 we saw the fall off of the housing market and put it in a next year's budget, when all the other cities in the state in September saw this and then were trying to correct their budget. So we wait, and we are constantly updating. We budget conservatively so that if something good happens, we have, we can do like we did the one year where we paid an extra $1.5 million to PSPRS. But that way, during the middle of the year, you don't have this like every other city did of we just discovered this, we have to cut millions of dollars from our budget, what do we do? So that's kind of how we look at the process. But there's a continually updating forecast through until you guys get the tentative budget.
Yeah, and in that particular situation, David, we actually saw the housing market collapsing through our building permits, which was starting through the state. And at that time, I immediately instituted a hiring freeze, and then we started proceeding from there. Had we not taken those measures, we would have been in a world of financial hurt.
So is that the significance of, it's in the executive report, the number of permits? So is that why you report that every month, so we should be watching?
Yeah, housing is always a precursor to potentially a recession or something like that. It's always been pretty much a leading indicator. But our building has been very slow, for a while now. So we haven't really seen any growth in construction and permit revenue. So it's hard to use that right now as in order as a predictive thing.
This month's report showed a drop-off, didn't it?
Yeah, there was a drop-off there. What concerns me mostly locally is the flat sales tax revenue. That is, this is a long period of time for us to go through, flat sales tax revenue period. So we're just not seeing any improvement there in terms of local spending.
And of course, the $500,000 loss to residential rental is not helping our situation either, as well as you see, the hotel tax is down due to lower federal travel.
So, a lot of these things that have occurred, like the rental tax, the state shared revenue situation, moratoriums on fees, all of that gets handed to us from the legislature. So, and those are things, we can take $500,000 hits or so every year and try and absorb it in the budget. But when I'm looking at numbers like this, I know it's going to be a challenge.
Is the food tax dead?
That's going to
the food tax.
No, Mr. Mayor. It is on the ballot for this year, and that's from last year's legislative session. And then there's a second one still alive, David.
That one isn't dead, but it isn't going anywhere. The one on the ballot is to freeze it at a cap of 2%,
okay,
which we're below it. If you're below 2%, it has to go to a public vote to raise. If you're above 2%, you can't do anything.
So the impact would mean that if there were to be a future sales tax increase, it would not include food,
okay,
which is a significant portion of our sales tax revenue.
And the one was introduced this year to try and move through, one of them was to exempt from food tax anything that qualifies for WIC, food stamps, anything like that. Now understand, if you're on WIC and food stamps and pay for it with that, it's already tax exempt. What this would do is, like, for all of us in the room, if you're buying the milk and the cheese, there's no tax on that, which is, let's face it, most of the food tax is items that qualify for WIC and food stamps and that type of thing.
Basic needs.
Basic needs. Okay. All right, any more questions?
Sorry about the bad news, but
Yeah. You'll have a lot of questions as we go through the budget process.
Thanks, Dr. Dave.
But he will fix it.
Fix it, Felix.
Fix it, Felix. All right. Any more questions for the mid-year budget review? All right, we'll go to our next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't know if this is the time to ask, but it just struck. So we have to expand the substation to a full fire and EMS station. And I understand that explains why we need an increase in firefighters personnel, but why do we need an increase do we not have enough EMS personnel available? Like, I thought we were fully staffed, sorry. I just want a clarification on that.
Mayor McCall, Vice Mayor Flowers, if you expand in provide more services, you have to hire more people. We'll have an additional truck there, as well as, and the way we're proposing to do it is to hire more EMS folks and move our EMS folks, move our fire folks that are on ambulances to the move our fire folks that are on the ambulances and staff those with EMS personnel. So we have to hire less firefighters and then hire more EMS personnel. You need more people if you're responding more units.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mayor McCaw, Vice Mayor Flowers. The reason for Station 4 expansion, clearly is because of the continuing increase of calls for service that we're experiencing here. And it's apparent that we have an aging population demographic, and I think that's basically what's driving it, because we're not seeing actual real population growth here per se. So something has to be driving it. I've been scratching my head about that for a couple of years, but it's pretty, based on just talking with fire and all that, it's pretty clear what's driving that. Our call load split is 85-90% EMS versus fire calls. But yet, we still have, an area that needs to be served out of that station for fire, even though it's only 10% of the calls. So you need the fire personnel as well. What I've asked the budget staff to look at is kind of a creation of a fire and EMS fund that would have as its primary revenue sources ambulance revenues, EMS calls. We do get reimbursement in terms of ambulance revenues, so it's a pretty significant number in our general fund budget. The other revenue source that's closely tied to fire protection is property tax. And that one I would propose throwing into that fund as a revenue source too. And then take a look at what that revenue generates vis-a-vis what the fire department budget is pretty much on an annual basis. And then looking at ways maybe that we could augment revenues into the fire fund, using, other revenue sources or taking a look at what ambulance rates or property tax rates should be to kind of get an idea of, how much the general fund is also contributing directly to the fire department independent of those revenue sources. So there may be some opportunities there, that might require a public vote or whatever to take a look at how those essential services are provided in the future. But I think it'll give us a clearer picture of what might need to be done there. So that's something we're working on the side. I don't know if that would be ready to be implemented this particular fiscal year, but certainly by next, we would have pretty much a concrete proposal for you at that point.
That sounds interesting, and I look forward to seeing that. And I'm sorry that your answer didn't, I'm not understanding, I don't think. So we already have an ambulance at Station 4. We're gonna add a fire truck, or that's the plan. So we would need firefighters. But are we adding an ambulance to station? Is that part of the proposal? So that's what I'm confused about. Why do we need 9 EMS personnel in addition if we're not adding
To cover the shift.
additional trucks?
We're adding an additional fire truck.
I mean, EMS.
Yeah, and the personnel that are on the fire ambulances currently will move over to the EMS personnel. Will hire EMS personnel to staff those fire ambulances that are staffed currently by fire personnel. We probably need you need 3 firefighters per shift, a captain engineer and a firefighter to operate. So you need 12 because there's leave, vacation, educational leave. We also in the next 5 years through attrition are probably going to lose another 6 people. So the hiring of additional bodies, fire and EMS, are for attrition as well.
So the so
We're getting away from our mid-year review agenda item
Okay,
here.
since it was mentioned, I just
I
want
know.
clarification.
All right, well, this will come up during the budget.
And it,
Vice Mayor
yeah,
Barr, so.
I think it's related because it's,
related too.
it's revenue, it's expenditures, and that's what we're talking about. But, that's okay. I can speak to you afterwards if you don't mind. Thank you.
I think.
Yes, sir.
One more thing when we're doing that review is, since we're looking forward and looking at this growth that we need, is to also, like I mentioned this before, portray how much when our system is dumped in town and our other surrounding cities are having to come in and do those calls, and they're generating the revenue, how much would we be able to get back now that if we have more units in our city, to whereas we wouldn't have the need to have so much as for Fry or anybody else around to come and make those calls for us when our system is completely dumped.
Talking about the ambulance revenue?
Right.
Mayor McCaw, Councilman Rodriguez, that is always part of our calculus when we talk about adding to our EMS staffing. And our EMS staffing growth has far exceeded our fire growth over the year in response to that 85-90% call rate that we're getting. But so we're also trying to, on the budget side, it's a cold thing to talk about, but you're at least getting those are primarily insurance calls, and you're getting reimbursed to do that. You don't get that on the fire side of the house, obviously. So it's easier for us to add the EMS personnel and see reimbursement on the revenue side for that, and it covers the preponderance of the calls as well. Yes, sir.
So, based on the current legislation and the increase in fees, do we need to get ahead potentially on the ambulance fees also?
Well,
So we don't get stuck behind the curve on that.
That is a really good question, and we probably need to look at that, because I'm sure that is something that would be covered under this legislation.
Okay. Any more questions, comments? We're still on budget. All right, so now we go to item number B, Bravo. Is it Bravo? Charlie, discussion on call to the public.
Oh,
Councilman.
Thank you.
Rodriguez.
Actually, I have that's part of it too.
That's in this packet, right?
Yeah. You have it in there?
I think it was in the last 3 packets.
Yeah. We've been trying to do this for a while. This is just this from Mesa. This is an example of what another city does online to their
Online form.
Basically what this is just, it's been a while since we looked at this policy, our call to public policy, obviously it's been a while. I mean, we've had some interesting meetings, but it's never been out of control to the point where we need people to get escorted out, but obviously our political landscape has changed so much in our country, and everything's so polarized. Just want to make sure that we are covered when everybody understands, we all love the First Amendment, but there's some things that are not okay, and obviously some things that are not protected under that amendment when it comes to what we do as elected officials. And like the thing says here, we understand, hey, you can get up here and berate me all day, and that's okay. It's part of it, right? We have to have thick skin. It's just comes with doing this job. If you can't take that, you probably shouldn't look into being elected. So, but all I wanted to say here was that our policy probably has to be updated, because it's been a while. Just to mention some things like what's okay, what's not okay. Just so it's posted either online, also back here by when people come and sign in and want to do a call to the public. Just so we can say, hey, refer to that, make sure you understand, again, what's allowed by law, what's not, when it comes to rules of decorum, things like that, time restrictions. We're not trying to cut anybody off or limit anybody, obviously, and people will see it that way. But in reality, what you do is if you kind of tell everybody, look, we have 100 people that want to talk, right? If we give everybody 5 minutes, it's 500 minutes, right? So in those cases like we had before, we had to limit people. Hey, look, there's a lot of you guys. We want to hear everybody, but if we limit you guys to 3 minutes, I think it's fair to make sure that everybody gets something to talk about. And then also we always have to say, hey, also if you're going to say the same thing, please let someone else talk that may have something different. And the way this is written out or laid out, the example on the back, like the public comment card, we'll have that up front. The example here, and like the one like Mesa does it, if you know up front, hey, this is a, I want to talk about this item, I'm opposed or for it, it may help you or the mayor stack them up left or right. Like I have 60 and 50, like, you know, okay, we'll give you guys ample time to give us a better idea of, to make sure everybody gets heard. But not to where we're here for 5 hours hearing the same thing, because we get it, we understand everybody, we want to hear everybody, but in the sake of time and everybody's time, we want to make sure that we hear what needs to be said, and that we're not here till midnight hearing the same thing. So I think it's not in our policy right now. Anything that really breaks it down that way, to where instances do happen, where we have to say, look, if there's more than some people that need to talk, we have somebody call the public. We may have to change it from that 5 minutes to 3 minutes just to get through the evening, right? Just so it's in there, so it's mentioned. It's not going to happen often. It hasn't happened often a lot, but it will happen. Going forward, I think. And there's just some other things in here that other cities have done when it comes to things that we don't really have problems with, like people bringing signs up in here, things like that. We really haven't dealt with that. But some people do put those in their policy, that they're allowed or not, things like that. It's just stuff to think about as we discuss it on moving forward with changing the policy or updating the policy as we see fit. And that's kind of all I wanted to talk about, was just maybe updating our policy to look a little bit more like, to make it easier to sift through things, and to, whether that's, if it works now to where, everybody likes just getting emails when it comes to it, or if there's like Mesa did, this is for council meeting comments before the meeting. It tells them, like, you have to put it in, has to be online before a certain time. If you want somebody to reach out back to you, you can leave your information there, stuff like that. So, and the other thing the policy talks about is when you see people come and say, hey, state your name. Obviously, there's things that are required, some things that are maybe not required. Like people don't like to say their address out loud for various reasons. Obviously, for security reasons, that's fine. But it gives us an idea of if the person lives in the city or in the county and kind of what they're dealing with and how we can help or not. And obviously, we've always wanted to keep it open to everybody in our community. Like obviously, some cities, like I mentioned here, have actually passed. They won't let you talk if you're not a city resident. I don't think we'll ever do that here, because I think we value that those comments from our neighbors that live in the county, that a lot of them have businesses in town, things like that. So I don't think we'd ever do that in our city. I don't see that happening ever.
Yeah,
but
we would have never heard from Silver Sky Fox
Yeah.
Mountain Top. Or whatever.
Exactly. Yes, we would have never had that. We'd never have people that come in and sing to us and things like that. So I think that's not something that we need to look at or change. But just wanted to give you some examples of what people are updating, how they're updating their public comments. And this came from a session I sat in Salt Lake City with their local attorney, who was not giving attorney advice. He was just happened to be an attorney for a certain city in Utah. Kind of just gave us this session. It was a pretty good session, so I just wanted to share it and just for everybody to kind of just chew on it and see how we can update our policy, because it's been a while since we've done it.
How would you propose updating the policy, Mark? Would you assign it to staff, or would you perhaps as an advocate come up with, hey, this is what I think it ought to look like?
Well, when I talked to Nathan about how to do this, you can do it a few ways, right? We could obviously talk about it in the work session. We can do a working session here in this chambers if you want, and it's open to the public, right? As we're working on it, talking about it, it doesn't, we can do it that way. And then once it's done, give it to staff and say, here's what we're thinking. Make sure the staff agrees or anything they need to do on their side. And then at the end, we would all just vote on the change. And when I'm talking to Nathan, I think that's pretty much how he said it. We can do it that way.
Do we have a draft document?
No, there's nothing drafted. I just wanted to bring it up first so we can talk about it and
So
figure out the
are
way
we
forward.
allowed to have a draft document during a work session since we don't vote? Or would you figure out what it was and then council meeting, we voted on it and after it's been put together?
I mean, we could see that. We would look at the current one, obviously, and it would have to be like, well, okay, here's where we want to add or to change it,
Okay,
right?
just
So
use
we'd
it
have
as a
our
baseline.
current policy it's like I said, it's been a while since that policy was created, and it doesn't have a lot of this stuff in it. So it was just a discussion piece for how you guys feel, what you think we should add or not. It's just like I said, what I heard in that session, and looking at what other cities are doing for their comment forms, online or in person, I think it's just something to have. It's important to be ready for something like that.
Is the main crux of it reducing the time?
No,
On the
no, that's just an option. Like I said, if you have 200 people,
right,
you
something like when we had that one session when it was.
Right, and so that was just like that was us trying to be like, hey, look, we're trying to get through this as a, as a community, as we want to hear everybody. We don't ever want anybody to feel unheard, but there isn't no policy that says that. It's just us like saying, hey, instead of 5 to get through it, we're going to do 3 and hope that everybody understands. But if we have a policy that says, look, in this case, whether it's a number or whatever, or it's time, that's an option that says, look, just so you know, if this happens, we may have to reduce it down to 3 minutes, just to get
Because
everybody
we
heard.
do have some sort of time constraint on,
Before we have to
length
extend the meeting.
On a meeting, right?
No,
No?
you do not.
Well,
Oh, I thought we did.
Not on a council
Not on,
meeting.
well, only on the
Oh,
work session.
Oh, on a work session, okay.
I mean, we can just keep going till ever, but I guess on a meeting, but there's nothing that's in writing that says it, like here's what happens, or here's what we have, just so everybody knows. And I love when our council room is full, because means people care and they want to come talk. So it's important feedback. But we just have nothing really in place that kind of lays it down when we have to say, hey, look, we get it, we want to hear everybody, but for the sake of time, we maybe need to reduce it to 3 instead of 5, and that, and for the most part, people have been receptive to understanding. We've got some oohs and ahs and groans before, but, only one time people yelled at us saying that we were taking away their First Amendment right or something, whatever. The machete guy and the stuff in the back that was, calling me a communist and stuff like that, which is fine. That's part of it. That's not illegal. But just things like that, we don't have it in place right now.
I say we produce a call.
Check. Oh,
that's Angelica's on the line.
Been on?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah.
I've been here the whole time, so I just wanted to make some comments on this. It is always a really good idea, I feel like, to review things, and if it's been a while since things have been reviewed, it's always good to kind of review things to see what's been changed. And I really like the idea of having something in writing that we can refer to, because, as was mentioned, when we had that call to the public, I think it was about the sanctuary cities. We had a lot of people that came. I think it was like 20 people or something. And, we kind of decided that just for sake of time to just kind of limit that. People were upset, and it was kind of like, I didn't like to have to cut people's time, but I mean, there was a lot of people there, so it did make sense. And then I feel like we do have to respect the staff's time as well. If it was just us there, I mean, we'd be fine to stay there all night, I guess. But because the staff is there, I feel like we really need to respect their time as well. So having something in writing, having something that we can refer to, that kind of says, well, if there's so many people, blah, blah. And I do feel like when it was mentioned, it might have been about the pool, when we had people come for the pool or something, somebody had told them, try not to repeat other people's comments. And I feel like the public did pretty good about that. So just having some things that kind of, some guidelines and clarification for them, I think is a really great idea. And having it kind of shared and posted and stuff, I think it would be just so people are aware and they don't feel like they're having any of their rights taken away. So yeah, I think it would be really good to have more discussion about this.
And I appreciate our 5-minute timer too. If you talk to other cities, they don't get 5 minutes, or even the school board, they get 3. When I tell people when we talk to other cities, like, do you give people 5 minutes? I'm like, yeah, we give people 5 minutes. They're surprised. They're kind of taken back by that. But I like that amount of time. I don't have a problem with it at all. But just like I said, in this instance where that happens, it may need to have a caveat.
Vice.
Thank you, Mayor. Jill, is this what we're talking about? Is this falling under a policy change, or do we just have to update the form?
What I would recommend if you come up with a policy is that it go into your policy and procedure guidelines, which are council approved.
It's currently
And
not.
then it becomes, no, it's not. And then it would become part of that living document, and then we would also change the forms and things like that.
All right, that's good to know. I agree with what you're saying, Mark and Angelica, because when we collectively agreed to cut everyone down to 3 minutes for sake of time to make sure we heard from everybody that wanted to be heard, and then when I asked them not to repeat themselves, those are both backed up by case law, so I was able to reference them when I got a couple emails the following day. But you're right, it would have been nice to just have that on the form so they could at least have a heads up prior to the meeting.
That's why I included some of the case law in here too, that,
Yes, sir.
that backs up a lot of these, just stuff in
Will you
history.
take the lead in drafting the base document?
For sure.
Sweet. All right. Yes, sir.
Just one quick comment, and I know we've all been here a long time, and this sounds like something that we'll probably talk about more in depth, but regarding the 5 minutes, I don't really have a problem with the 5 minutes versus the 3 minutes myself, so much as when I got my first taste of this maybe recently when we did the flock camera and we had the people come in, and that was probably the first I've seen where we had a lot of people coming in wanting to do comments. What I found kind of concerning after the fact was when I learned how many of those people didn't even live in the city. And I didn't figure that out until a day or two after the comments. And so, as Councilman Rodriguez said, you know, people may be reluctant to give their address on the record in an open forum, but maybe something along the lines where they have to at least say that they're, you know, a resident versus somebody that just you know, works in the city or has an interest in the city and is there to make comments, because I think that has a relevance when we're listening to them and they're saying, hey, I live in the city versus I just, you know, I come through the city and I'd like to make a comment about your city versus I'm a voting member of your city, or I pay taxes in your city, or I pay taxes in our city versus I come through your city, you know.
Understood. Thank you. Any more questions, comments? Thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
Our next item is the executive report. Sir.
Thank you, Mayor McCaw, members of the council. You know, a lot of things going on. Obviously, you know, budget is dominant one for us right now. The legislature, of course, is in session, and we're following that closely. Staff is working on federal grant proposals with regards to both Congressman Ciscomani and the senators. So, and then of course the weather is turned warmer, and it's festival season in Sierra Vista. So Laura's staff has got a lot going on this time of year as well. So really busy on a number of fronts. This is our busiest time of the year, obviously, and it'll be that way, you know, probably through June. But anyway, staff is here to answer any questions that you might have.
I do have one. Chief Jones, calculations, you had 3,700 calls for January and February? Somewhere around that area. Total year last year, how many calls were you?
Mayor McCaw, total calls last year was 11,600.
So you're on track to get 18,000 calls?
No, we're actually the last 2 months we've seen a decrease in calls, which is really peculiar for us. We haven't had a sustained time period where we really be able to tell what our peak is. We think we may have reached a peak, and now we're plateauing. We're going to check over the next 5 or 6 months to see if we're stabilized at around 850, maybe 800 to 850 calls a month, which is about 450 transports a month. That's what we're looking at.
Okay. All right. Got it. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
On the sales tax page 27, the two charts are the same.
Are they?
Yeah, the top and bottom. So they weren't making sense. And then what is this chart of? Is this the line items of all the sales tax revenue? Okay. And then thank you for the transit costs. Actually, I guess that was Dave. Yeah, thank you for the transit costs and the breakout. And my one question on that we didn't discuss in the private session is the FTA funds for transit. Is that FTA reimbursable, or do we get a set amount every year?
FTA funds for transit, they can vary, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. What it's for, capital O&M, as we discussed when we were looking at suspending the fees and keeping the suspended. We get more points for more ridership and that type of stuff, which is, if the more riders we have, the better they fund it. So there's a whole plethora of things that go in on depending what type piece of the grant is.
So you have the O&M split 50/50, and so it sounds like it's reimbursable. So these are costs
Normal
reimbursable.
O&M costs are 50/50.
They are.
So that's like the drivers and that, the on the road is 50/50. When you get to other things, capital, that's why capital maintenance is not in there, because replace an engine, that can be 80/20, 93/7, all depends on what grant they're pulling it off of, or 100%, depending on what is being funded by. But O&M is generally 50/50.
So after we have the O&M bill, we go back to the FTA and we say, hey, this is what our costs were.
Yep.
Here's what you owe us.
Yeah, they reimburse us.
And
It's
that's
all
how they
reimbursable
reimburse.
grant, yeah.
I have a comment real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I appreciate the report. It always has a lot of really great information. I don't have any specific questions on this one, but I do plan on Thursday to make some comments about some of the things on there and highlight some of the stuff. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just there, obviously there's the treasure trove of information always to get through this thing. And I appreciate the Adam working on the smoke detector volunteer stuff. It's not online yet, but I know that's coming soon. Probably the button there, because I looked today, it's not on there like an option to volunteer yet. I saw you posted it, but it's not on the website as an option to, like, if you want to volunteer with the Sierra Vista Fire Department to do smoke detectors. It's not on that part yet. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We haven't had the Citizens Fire Academy in a while, so we're still trying to get our volunteers up base. We still do it every month, so I appreciate you helping to get our volunteer numbers up, Adam. And then question about Lem Roberts Park. I know this says the splash pad is not going to be open until April. Is that still the thing?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Rodriguez. There's a tree root that is has infiltrated one of the pipes, and so we are getting that repaired, and then it's going to be up and running. It's going to have to bleed into April because it's still down, but we almost have this whole thing like right, and we're excited about that. I really wanted the kids to have it in March, but it looks so cool, and we want it to be right, and we don't want to continue to damage like our infrastructure and the walking paths. So this will make sure it's discovery learning when we do these projects.
I was wanting to ask because there's an event at Lem Roberts Park this weekend, so I was like, it's not going to be, it's going to be kind of warm, but
I'm sorry.
it's okay. It's not your fault. It's the tree. We'll blame the tree. We'll name that tree and we'll call them names.
Yeah.
And then I saw the playground at Nancy Hakes Park. That looks really cool. Looks nice. I like that. For a lot of years that park didn't get a lot of love, and I think in one part we thought about maybe asking the school if they wanted it, but it's looking good. So it's good to see that up there for the kids in the neighborhood to use. The museum, I saw something about, we're cutting hours on Saturday. That's solely based off employees or usage?
Yeah.
Is it both?
I don't know.
Hiring?
I was just asking usage.
I mean, we talked about stuff in here, but I don't know. I want to get off topic. I saw that pop up on our city page. So
I'll have to get back to you on that one, Councilmember Rodriguez. I'm still getting caught up from my leave, and but I will ask Emily about that.
thank you very much. All right. Let me see. Nothing else, I think. We talked about a lot of this stuff already. Wastewater, need for that. I'm looking forward to see who won the big pitch competition today. That was this afternoon while we were here. Ended at award was at 3:30 while we were here. So looking forward to see the youth that won that competition, because they always have some great ideas. Looking forward to hearing what happened there. And then I like the jobs report at the end. That's always good to have because people always bring that up. It's good to have at least some numbers that we work with AZ at work to say, here's how many jobs are available in Cochise County and in Fort Huachuca. There is a push in working with AZ at work to do a youth job fair in May, on May 15th. So just one thing we've seen in our community is most of the job fairs you go to, right, you got to have skill already. Normally, security clearance, things like that. So what they want is all the employers out in Sierra Vista that hire, which include in the city, right, include people that hire youth right out of high school. This summer, this May, right, is a perfect opportunity for people that hire people straight out of high school to come to these job fairs, because they have not been doing that. COVID really killed all that, and it just said, hey, they told everybody just apply online, but our youth has really lost that opportunity to do job interviews, to see what that's like, to to bring a resume, to work on a resume. So we're going to try to do all that on May 15th. So that's tied to this jobs report is that there's employers out there, that hire youth or that have benefits. And like I've heard Fry's has a really good program. So hoping people like that would show up once we start pushing that out. This is probably the biggest list of projects I've seen in a long time in our city. So a lot of projects going on. I mean, our tax is flat, but we are not lacking projects in our community. So hopefully that on the end of it will in turn make some of that, or account for some of that stuff. But there's a lot of projects in here, so hopefully that means some positive stuff down the road.
Yeah, well, the staff does a good job of bringing in grant funds, and that's the primary source of funding for a lot of those projects.
Yeah, I appreciate the PD really break down the end a lot of stuff on major crimes, putting the actual facts on there, what actually happened, versus hey, I heard this on Facebook or I saw this online that this is what happened, but putting it down there and some of those stats, our offender registry is up. In our community, it's concerning too. But all the data's here, and I appreciate that very much. Just a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of good information in this packet that I always encourage everybody to read. And I do like the adapting the ready and forward thought from the Buffalo Soldiers. I like that as well, how that included here.
Excellent.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Another question for the chief. Could you explain what overlap means again?
Mayor McCaw, Councilman Kimmerer, overlap means if there's calls that happen at the same time. So a call goes out on Fry Boulevard at McDonald's, and then another call goes out at the exact same time. That's overlapping calls, which means an engine from a different area has to come in and respond to that area, or an ambulance based on the call.
So a higher number is bad, lower numbers are good.
Yes.
Okay. And then on the next page, actually the next series of page, where you have the yellow and green dots with numbers inside of them. I'm looking at page 50 through 52. What are those? What do the circles mean, and what do the numbers inside them mean?
Mayor McCaw, Councilman Kimmerer, those are heat maps, and those are calls within that certain area. So the higher number is the higher call volume within that certain area.
Okay. And it's yellow. Does that mean it's too many calls to that area, or the response time is slow?
The color really doesn't mean anything. It's just the number of calls, to my knowledge, right now.
Oh, okay.
All right, we got 4 minutes. We go to item number Echo, reports on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings.
So obviously just came back from DC, NLC conference there. So some great sessions. Was able to get our youth council there. Hill Day was amazing. Talked to all of our senators and congressmen that represent Arizona as a whole. Talked to a lot of them all day. I was able to talk to some Mexican American policy people. The AZ Mexico Commission was there too. So there was a lot of stuff happening on Capitol Hill that day. The firefighters were there in force as well, talking to their legislators about fire issues, which was great that we were all there at the same time. So it was a really good event. And then we had a data center meeting yesterday from the county, and that was talked about data centers and large power loads in the Cochise County. So a lot of good information came out of that meeting, and it was nothing like, hey, we should do this or shouldn't do this. I like the way they approached it. It was, here's the scientists, here's the people from the labs at ASU, here's the people that build data centers, here is, the energy companies, the energy co-ops that have good and bad examples of what to do, what not to do when it comes to data centers. So I hope to see more of that coming out in the future. A lot of good information when it comes to those data centers. That's a big deal for our state, and there's a reason why there's a big deal in our state is because of, tax cuts. We don't have natural disasters. All those things is reason why data centers are really moving to Arizona. So it's important to know stuff like that. So I really appreciated that them putting it out in that way.
Excellent. Any others? And future discussion items and council requests, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor McCaw. Your work sessions are going to continue to be busy. On April 7th, I have the 6-month strategic plan update scheduled, Mr. Kilmurray's request for a discussion on the Paradigm contract, and your revenue and debt budget presentation. And on April 21st, Mayor McCaw, I have your request for a presentation by Dan Valle on Buffalo Soldier City designation and discussion on the feasibility of a museum, and your capital O&M and personnel budget presentation. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any others? We'll see you on Thursday. Oh,
I'm sorry.
go
We
ahead.
have to have a work session for the policy adding the, or is that just gonna be done offline and
I suggest
come
we
to
are.
us later?
Well, he's gonna develop the document.
Yeah.
And
I'll put it on a future agenda.
Yeah, agenda, so we can
Yeah.
talk about
So
it.
does it go to a, okay.
Do you want that staffed?
Yeah, once we,
with a
I mean, create the
draft or
draft, I
something?
guess, and for a future agenda item when it's done.
Agenda item.
Yeah. But not,
So just on a,
not the 7th, it's already, we already probably have
Yeah.
20 pounds of stuff in a 10-pound bag that day, I think, so.
We needed it last week.
so beyond the 21st.
Try, probably.
Okay.
okay, she's tracking it.
Can I make a request? I talked to staff about it. When we're going through the budget discussion, I find it very difficult talking among, on the dais with everybody and getting the staff. Would anybody be opposed to putting a table down the middle, kind of like we do in the conference room where we're all able to face each other and talk each other face to face? A little bit simpler.
When we talked about this and I told you downstairs is set up, do you not like that idea or?
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, that's watering hole. Yeah, because you brought this up. I'm like, we can use the city.
Maybe that's why I had the idea.
Were y'all
Yeah.
drinking?
He might have. It was lunch. But he wasn't drinking, so I think it was something in passing.
Just-
But if we haven't used it in a while, I know it's set up that way.
Well, historically, well, one, we have had tables in front of the dais, in the past. The conference room also used to be used for budget work sessions. The problem with the conference room is if you do get, staff and members of the public there, it is very crowded in there to do that. So,
It's also no longer set up for public broadcasting in the conference room downstairs.
We can bring a table in front of the dais if that's something that the council cares to do. So it has been done before.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you want bar stools or do you want regular chairs?
Yeah, you want bar stools?
Regular chairs.
Regular chairs. All right. Yes, sir.
I'll roll them down.
We will see you on Thursday.
We'll have docs bring their bar stools.